What's up, y'all? So I thought I was recording, but turns out I wasn't, which is kind of sad, but what can we do? So, what have we been working on? Boy, and I thought I was recording. The only thing we really did was first we went to our client page, and then we created a new screen, well, we tried to. So, in this new screen is the profile screen, where when the user logged in, we'll then retrieve all the information and display it as a profile screen. So, the question is, how are we going to display it? So, first, we're going to have a main widget, not widget, yes, widget. Should I say widget? We're going to call it widget. A main widget, and it's going to be a class of grid layout. And in this grid layout, we're going to have, I guess I just noticed something. Let me change a few things. So now you're thinking, why did I have a main and a main? So the main, well, you will notice later. But this part, what we did is we sent a request to our server saying, oh, can you grab me the exact user? And then we retrieve the data and save it as data into info. And then we are going to do a for loop saying for info in zip ID. We do not need to know the user's ID, so we're just going to skip that if it says if info, the first place of info, if it's equals to ID, skip. Else, what we're going to do is we're going to run this. So we're going to say users info dot add widget equals to label text equals to infos dot 0 plus infos dot 1. So we also have to do one more thing. We have to see if infos dot 1 equals to str. Because if it's equals to str, we don't need to do anything extra. Else, if it's not equals to str, we have to turn it into str. So to do that, we'll say users info dot add widget, right? Users info dot add widget, and give it a label. Oh, users info dot add widget, give it a label, give it a text, infos 0 plus str infos. Ooh, my bad. Infos 1. Alright. So now we're going to display that user's info. And then down here, so we have the user's name. We'll save the user's name, user's password, the amount the user gains daily, amount the user loses daily. And then once that for loop is done, we still have two more things to input because right here we say row equals to 6. So we have two more things to input. And what do we want to input? I'm glad you asked. First, we have to say, we have to look for all the whole companies the users is invested in. And to do that, let's go to our SQL query. So we say, right here, this one SQL says, select all from companies, join users on companies dot company owner ID equals to user's ID, where user users dot name equals to. So we're going to grab this query. Well, not grab this query. Oh my god. Yes, we are. We are going to grab that query. and then we will go to right down here, and then we will say create a route at the route that instead of exact user. That I was thinking of something. So at that route, and then we will say the route name we're going to give this is, we're going to say grab, no, not grab. What are we going to say? Get users, get users company, and then we'll give it a method. Method equals to host, and def get user comp. So what we're going to do is say we want to grab the data, so we say data.json.load equals to request.data.decode. And once we have the data, the next thing we need to do is create an SQL connection equals to con.sqlite3.connect.server.db, and then cursor equals to con.cursor, and then our SQL query is going to be not this. Do 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 do. And format equals to data, that's username, my bad, user name. And what this will do is it's going to load all of the, it's going to load all of the company the users is vested in. Not invested, the company user owns, right? And then, wait, count. Because we don't want all the companies the user owns. What we want is the number of companies the user owns. So we know that it's not going to give us any error because that user does exist, right? Okay. So what we're going to say is cursor dot executes query, and once we execute that query, we're going to say grab, which will be a number, and we'll say cursor dot fetch one, and then in that, what we want is re equals to number, and we'll give that the value of grab 0, print re, and then return JSON 5 re. Alright, so once we have that, then we'll come over here, and then we would say num comp user equals to request dot post URL equals to http JSON num comp user. Is that it? Okay, and then the JSON we're going to give it is say, not JSON, the data we're going to give it username. we're going to say username equals to user dot username dot name. Yeah, user dot name. Alright. And then we will receive information back from the computer, from our server. And our server is going to give us that information, and then we will use that information to say user info 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 dot add widgets label text equals to number of companies user owns, and then we'll give that a value of str num comp user dot json, excuse me, number. Alright, and then the last thing we have to add for the user's information is number of companies the users invested in. So this query, we're going to delete it and say select count all investors join users on investors dot investor ID equals to users dot ID, where users dot name equals to 2000. Alright, and then we'll just run this. Oh, from investors. And let's run it one more time. So this will return 0, and then we will select this again. Num num. Alright, so and down here we're going to do the same thing. We're going to say app dot route dot get user num investor method equals to post def get users invest, and then we will say data equals to json dot load request dot data dot decode con. Oh shoot, we forgot to close the SQL connection. Con dot close. Con equals to sqlites3 dot connect dot server dot bb, and then we will say cursor equals to con dot cursor, and then we will say query equals to and instead of that name we will say dot format data username. Alright, and then we're going to say cursor dot executes query, and then we will say num equals to cursor dot fetch 1 And then we'll say read equals the number and num0. Print read, we con dot close, return JSON file read. And we would do the same thing here. We would grab this and we are going to grab this, paste it here, but instead the URL changes so it to be investors now. Investors, and then we will say user info dot add widgets label text equals the number of company user is invested in str num comp user dot json and number exactamundo. Alright, so now we're done with users info. We'll add that into the main later. The next thing we need to do is the name of companies the users is invested in. And to do that, we will simply create another window and call this, well, not yet, name comp equals to none. We'll add that in later. Let's create another route. And in this route, we would simply say app.route and then get user investor methods equals to post def get user investment. So let's create the SQL queue right here. Alright, so we're not looking for name or count. We're just going to look for name. Wait, no, my bad. Company name. We're going to grab the company's name that the user is invested in. Forgot to join companies on investors dot company ID equals to companies dot ID, and then we run this. Well, right where we have to fix that. And then right here is where we say where name equals to whatever the name is. Right? And then we say run, and then let's grab this code. Alright, so down here, what we will say, okay, what we were going to say is data equals to JSON dot loads request dot data dot decode, and then we'll create an SQL connection equals to SQLite 3 dot connect server.db. Cursor equals to con dot cursor, and query equals to select this query, and right here, oof, which is when we'll just tab this. Okay, good. And then we will say format data username. Alright, so we have our query now. We have to execute our query. Cursor that executes query. Names equals to hmm, hmm, cursor dot fetch. Oh, is that one? Yeah, I guess so. Read equals to company names, names. Oh my bad. Yeah. So print read, return JSON file read. Alright, so now we will go here and we'll say request dot post URL equals to HTTP users 5000 main content. But this is not going to be main content. This will be get user investor, and we shall say username, right? Username, I think this video is going on for too long. Let's see. Oh, so let's just finish the screen up. Username, and we'll give that a value of user dot name, and then right here, problem equals to false. So when we say if name comp dot JSON with the value company's name equals to none, set problem equals to true. And then down here we would say if problem equals to false, we want to create a new grid. And this grid, think of it in the matter of roads. Routes. R-O-T. I had it somewhere down here. Exact number. There's why you beautiful, beautiful deal. Alright, okay. So we'll just put the root down here. Ooh, Lord Jesus. Mm, mm. Wait, what did that for? Useless. Okay, so we would want to create a um comp name equals to grid layout column of 1 rows equals to the length of this. And then we would say spacing equals to 10, size hint y equals to land minus divided by 2. Land divided by 2. Alright. Jesus Lord. Okay. So what's next? We did that. Next thing we have to do is add our widget. So we'll say for names in, but before we do that, we have to go here +1. So we'll say comp name dot add widget, and we'll say this will be label text name of companies user is invested in. So comp name dot add widget label text equals to names, else it'll be the same. Comp name equals to grid layout, calls equals to 1, rows equals to 1, spacing equals to 10, size hint y equals to 2. And then we would just say comp name dot add widget equals to label text you have not invested in any company. Alright, and then down here we would say root dot add widget comp name. So that way it would allow us to scroll. So we have the user's information, the name of companies the user is invested in, and what else do we need? Name of companies the user owns. Do we need that? Yeah, we need that. So we'll give this another thingamajig. But rather we would say root tails instead of root. Alright, this will be the last screen. The last column, I guess. Rooted. And then name of own comp equals to none. We'll change that later after we fix this routing. So let's go all the way up. I'm all the way up. Nothing can stop me. I'm all the way up. Alright, so where are you? Okay. So we'll create another route, app.route, and we'll say get user investor owned comp methods equals to. I'm probably using this methods wrong. I honestly feel like that. User owned comp, but it gets the job done. So data equals to JSON.load request equals to data.decode. And then con equals to SQLite3.connect server.db. And then we say cursor equals to con that con the cursor. And then in this query, we will say Okay. This query, we want to select every company the user owns. Alright. So we'll just say select name from companies, join users on companies dot user dot owner. Right, comp owner ID, company owner ID equals to users dot ID, where, oh, I don't even need any where. Oh, where user the name, where name equals to Selectimondo. Alright, so this is the queue right here. What is that thing that you? Sometimes I really feel like I'm going blind. Ain't that crazy? It's crazy. So what this will do is going to collect all the names where the thingamajig is equals to the thingamajig. And then we'll say cursor that executes query. And that cursor that execute query You want to fetch the queries. Conf names equals to cursor. Now fetch all. Alright. And then we would say on dot close, and then we equals to company's name, and comp names return JSON file 3. Alright, so down here we would say request that post, which is a URL of, no, that's not, HTTP user 5000, and then we'll just copy this. Username equals to user dot name. Alright, and then well, that's then what do we next? Graduate. We have to do the other if statement. Problem equals to false. If name of owned comp dot JSON company's name equals to none, problem equals to false. If problem equals to false, that means problem equals to true. Pass here. Okay. The way up. What do we need to write here? User comp owned equals to grid layout with clause of 1 rows equals to the length of whatever this is. Plus 1 spacing equals to 10. Size hints y equals to length of this divided by 2. And then we would say user comp owned dot add widget label text name of company the user owns. Your name not, you are not invested in any company. Okay. Alright. Name of companies the user owns. And then we would say a for loop for a name in user comp on dot add widgets label text name. Alright, and then else user comp on equals to grid layouts calls equals to 1 rows equals to 1 spacing equals to 10. I don't think the spacing is honestly important since we are not using whatchamacallit, since we have don't have that much room to use. But anyways, users comp on the add widgets that's label not dot label text you do not own any companies. Alright, and then we will say rooted dot add widgets user comp on. Alright, so since we did that, the next part that we have to do, oh my hands are killing me. The next part that we have to do, ooh, Lord, is add it to main. Now we have to decide on the pattern that we want to use for main. Mains dot add widgets, and the widget we're going to add first of all wait 1 2 3, this is 3 now 4. Let's change this right here. 3 mains dot add widget. First we're going to add, what was that called? That was called user info. User info, and then we're going to say mains dot add widgets root, and then mains dot add widgets root ed, and then we'll say main dot there's one question, how many screens are we going to have? We know we need one screen that will allow us to, what's the word I'm looking for, one screen that would allow us to, dang it, I think I forgot, one screen for user profile, one screen, another screen for investing, and then another screen for user profile, investing. So only 2 screens, user profile and investing. User profile and investing. User profile and investing. User profile and investing. So, those just sound weird to me. I thought we would need more, but guess not. So, since we don't need more, we can just magic with the spear. Alright, so. Alright. So, we are just going to create a button. So, we'll call this button top. And we'll say grid layouts. Actually, we don't. Oh, yes, we do. Grid layouts. Columns equals to 1, rows equals to 2, and top dot add widgets button text invest. Wait, no. Profile color equals to green. And for this top dot add widget button text. Thank you for that. What I was gonna do. Oh, companies. Wait, invest, and then no color. Like color background color equals to green equals to black, and then we will have an unreleased equals to go self dot go to invest background color equals to black, and then down here we say main dot add widget equals to top, and main dot add widget equals to mains, and then we say self dot main equals to main, and then return self dot main. Alright, and then down here we would say go to invest with self and args, and then we would say self dot manager dot current equals to invest. Alright, so we will then create a session dot add widgets and make that equals to profile. Okay, and then down here we say profile dot manager equals to SM. We're done. Alright, delete this. Give it 1 second, it's loading. Okay, cancel. Alright, now we didn't do anything much except for just fix the looks. How many minutes have I been recording? 48 minutes. Oof, I didn't expect it to take that long. But honestly, it's way shorter than how much it usually takes if we think about it. Sorry about it, y'all, though. I know I did say 10 minutes. Sometimes you just lose track of time, you know? Excuse me? What line was that? Line 254. 254. Alright. And it's crazy though. First time you run it, you already see an error. Oh my god, I'm sorry. It's late. Users, whether you have that countries or there was a problem getting users recommended. Let's do Now we started the server, and now we connect to the server. And we connect to the server. Choose dog ID. DOG. Oh my god. Okay. This is 1289. Interesting. Interesting thing. Alright, so this looks like login screen and it says out of range. Where did we use user? Okay. Did we use words? User gain and user's cost. Password gain cost. User's name, password, money. Yeah, money, money, gain, cost equals to data 5. Alright. And then down here in users, let's copy this real quick. Bless me. Lord. Lord bless me. ID, name, password, cost, money, gain equals to my username. If gain not equals to my user, that's gain. Alright, so this should work now. Server is still running correct. Correct the window. Alright. Oh.